The second day of racing in the Canadian Tire Classic features the elite men's race. 140 Ks, 12 laps around an 11.5 K circuit. Gord Singleton takes us through the course.
The first major descent for the riders is down Park Road. It's raining now, and if it continues to rain, it could be very slippery because this right-hand turn at the bottom of the descent is tricky and slippery. When the riders reach Pottery Road after moving along Bayview, they come to their first ascent here. It's a long, slow grind up here where the riders might be gearing down, but if they're going to make a move, this could be one place before the feed zone. For a race of this length, which will be 140 kilometers, riders like to take on food and drink. For that reason, they have this point here called the feed zone. They'll be taking on water and food. It's a long way to go. Moving south on Bayview, the riders have about a 1.5 kilometer descent. It's going to be very, very fast, especially today. There's a bit of a tailwind. They could be reaching speeds of between 50 and 60 miles an hour. At the bottom of Bayview, though, there's a sharp right-hand turn. The riders will be cramming into the corner here. They'll have to negotiate it very, very smoothly. This is the infamous Pottery Road. The riders will climb here 12 times, and the one who comes over the top the most will definitely be the king of the hill.
Rain was a key factor at the start of the Canadian Tire road race, and its effect on road conditions concerned Yellow Jersey Criterium winner Ian Dornelis.
It's going to be dangerous out there, especially with the little downhill that they have and the winding roads, but I'm just going to stay up front and try to control everything for myself.
The packed field pedaled cautiously away from the starting line over rain-slick streets to begin the first ever road race in downtown Toronto. That caution was evident as the cyclists negotiated the first hazardous corner in the course, turning onto Rosedale Valley Road. The expected spills did not materialize as the riders got a feeling of the slippery conditions.
Just 5.5 minutes into the race, a group of 5 riders make the first breakaway as they approach the longest hill on the course. Climbing up Bayview Avenue, Canadian Brian Walton, a strong climber, takes command. The pack steps up the pace to keep in touch with the leaders, and almost immediately, some of them are toppled in a high-speed spill crossing railway tracks.
On the first circuit of the course, the riders should have slowed down for the railway tracks, an obvious hazard in wet conditions.
After that early spill, the riders treated the tricky left-hand turn onto Pottery Road with a good deal more respect. Brian Walton still leads, but the peloton is closing the gap. Walton shows his true mettle on the steep Pottery Road incline, notching valuable points towards the King of the Hill competition, carrying a separate $2,000 purse. A breakaway trio heads into lap 2. Brian Walton is closely watched by 10-speed drive rider John Kavanagh and Nino Tridoti of Italy. But just minutes later, the brake is reeled back in, and the field starts another grueling ascent up Bayview Avenue. The rain has stopped, and riders must now contend with rising humidity. Walton leads again up Pottery Road Hill, but he knows the main pack is snapping at his heels. Nearing the end of lap 2, the pack is still tightly bunched. This is where race strategy comes into play, and riders call on teammates to take over pacemaking duties.
10 laps to go, and Dutch national team rider Kees Hotmans mounts a solo attack on the lead group of 3. He knows this is a dangerous move, but the temptation of joining the leaders is too great. Brian Walton looks calm and in control as he leads the front three. A quick glance over his left shoulder reveals the trio may soon have company. Hopmans has closed the gap and is now a scant 30 meters behind. The leaders, pacing each other, assault the Bayview Avenue hill with ease, and in their wake, Hopman struggles valiantly alone. His stamina sapped, the Dutchman is swallowed up by the pack. His gamble has failed. Brian Walton leads for the third consecutive time up Pottery Road Hill. On this day, the 23-year-old Vancouverite looks unbeatable.
With 9 laps to go, Canada's newest national team member has opened up a 15-second lead over the pack as it snakes through the streets of Toronto. Walton is pedaling with great authority, but a chase group of 5 riders is peeling itself off from the main field to attack the lead.
But if Walton is to be caught, it will not be on the Pottery Road Hill where he piles up more points for the King of the Hill title.
Walton completes his 4th lap on the 11.5-kilometer course in just 16 minutes, 54 seconds. 15 seconds back in second place is Italian Ezio Missori. Walton takes a banana break to refuel his stamina. But it's almost inevitable that he's to be overtaken by the chase group of 11 riders 2 minutes later. The fastest part of the course, southbound on Bayview, stretches the lead group once more, and Brian Walton serves notice that he is not a spent force.
The humidity is intense as a new leader, number 86, Tim Lefebvre of Niagara Falls, leads the field with 7 laps to go. Even curbside jugglers can't steal the fire of the road race excitement as the riders jostle for the lead. The front-running group of 12, with Walton in second place, sweep through the sharp left-hand corner as Bayview joins Pottery Road. But a chase group is determined to keep them in sight. Everyone is up on their pedals, calf muscles straining every inch of the way.
Patience pays off for Walton, who has reclaimed the lead with a 7-second pad. It's the halfway stage of the race. But other riders, like Criterium winner Ian Dornelis, are also making their moves now. A vigorous pace pulls Walton back into their midst as the tightly bunched field climbs up Bayview towards the feed zone.
Following a now familiar pattern of the race, Brian Walton has once again used his prowess on the hills to recapture the lead with 5 laps to go. 5 minutes later, 3 new faces have emerged as race leaders. They are Paul Murray of Maine Cycle, Harm Jensen of Holland, and Briton Andy Herford. The rest of the pack trails by 35 seconds, and Brian Walton must be content with watching the backs of the other riders in front of him.
Dutch national team member Harm Jensen paces the same trio of leaders with only 4 laps to go. Onlookers search for the figure of Walton, and he doesn't disappoint with another sparkling hill climb in 4th place. It was a performance that would later crown him King of the Hill.
3 laps to go, and Britain's Andy Herford pours on the speed. Even in the highly competitive world of cycle racing, there's still time for a friendly gesture. Only seconds separate the leaders, and a wheel change can easily win or lose the race. Speedy service for Canadian Chris Koberstein keeps him in contention. Stage 1 winner, Ian Dornelis, conserves his strength in the middle of the pack, waiting for the right moment to attack. Andy Herford has opened up a clear lead on the Pottery Road Hill, but 20 seconds behind in the chase group, Ian Dornelis and New Zealander Brian Fowler work hard to stay in touch.
2 laps to go. Andy Herford pedals through in perfect field position, maintaining the 20-second cushion over the chase group. But the cushion evaporates within 6 minutes. The chase group has caught up with Herford.
Brian Fowler, riding for Toronto Team Bike Energy, leads the break of 9 riders down the fast stretch of Bayview southbound. It's a disconcerting sight to the rest of the field, toiling up the other side of the road. Fowler lets Canadian Yvon Waddell do the legwork up Pottery Road Hill before reclaiming the lead going into the final lap.
Just behind the pack, a heartbreaking collision destroys any chances of a comeback by the crowd's hero, Brian Walton. The service squad works furiously to straighten out tangled metal. Although they get the plucky Walton back in the running, it's too little, too late. In a moment, the conclusion of the Canadian Tire Road Race. On Sports Weekend, favoring his right leg, tries to catch up, but the leaders, Fowler, Dornelis, and Waddell, put the race beyond his reach.
The front runners are watching to see which of them will break for the open road. Brian Fowler takes the initiative and makes the first move. Sweeping down Bayview southbound, Fowler steps up the pace to widen his lead. Drenched in perspiration, he knows that victory is within his grasp. If only he can hold off one last challenge from Canadian national rider Yvon Waddell. But there are no fairy tale endings on this day, and the first man sprinting into view of the finish line is Brian Fowler. Superb stamina and ice-cool road race strategy clinch the Canadian Tire Road Race in a time of 3 hours, 23 minutes, and 19 seconds.
A sprint finish places Waddell second and Sandro Vitali third. Indeed, a classic road race, contrasting the agony of defeat mirrored in the face of 8th-placed Ian Dornelis and the sweet taste of victory savored by the winner, Brian Fowler. His prize, the coveted Canadian Tire Championship Road Race Trophy. The final standings of the road race. Behind Fowler in first place, Yvon Waddell of the Canadian national team was a strong second. Sandro Vitali was third. The overall standings in the two-stage, two-day event had New Zealander Brian Fowler on top. Yvon Waddell was only 18 seconds behind, and former Canadian national team member Ian Dornelis in third. The other members of Canada's national team had Dave Spears in 6th, Lucas Segato 20th, Chris Koverstein 26th, Brian Walton 30th. 2 days of great cycling and lots of excitement. And Gord, we had some surprises too.
Yes, Ernie, and in the criterium, the crafty old Ian Dornelis, he picked the right wheel at the right time to win that one. But the one who impressed me the most was Brian Fowler. The conditions were tough, it was rainy, it was a hard circuit, and he made the move to win that one.
Gord, the Canadian team didn't win anything, but they placed well, so we'd have to say they were impressive.
And they rode aggressively. That's the key. If you're going to win the Olympics in Seoul, you have to ride aggressive. If they get into the right break, they could win a medal.
Thanks, Gord. You look in great shape. Would you like to get back out there and race again?
No, I think I'll stick to my golf, Ernie.
Okay. I'm Ernie Afaganis for Gord Singleton. Goodbye from the Canadian Tire Classic in Toronto.
Thank you very much, Ernie and Gord Singleton. A fantastic day of racing from Toronto's Queen's Park. And, you know, it must be my day here at Sports Weekend because besides covering the canoeing and kayaking competition at the Seoul Olympics, I will also be racing crosstown to report on the cycling action at the 1988 Summer Games. And for you cycling enthusiasts, just a month and a half away from now, October 15th, we will have the Canadian Tire Off-Road Classic, that from Milton, Ontario. Should be very exciting. That race, of course, features mountain bike riders.